Okay, it's Richard here. Hey, I'm going to kind of go through a laundry list of some electronic products that you might be interested in for your tab. One of the first ones I'll show you here is a Tenergy volt and amp and watt meter. And this device, you can, when you originally get this does not have these connectors on it. I'm going to talk a little bit about those connectors in a minute. You could have alligator clips that you put on it or whatever. It's available to several different ways. This is made by Tenergy, so it's Tenergy, and so Tenergy, this is available out on the internet. You probably can get it through Amazon. You may be able to get it through eBay, and it's probably about $15. Some of these are as high as $50, so this is a very good bargain on this one. But you can see this will have readouts of whatever the item is, the amps, the watts, the volts that are coming out of your power source. You hook up the load on this side, and you hook up the source, the electrical, the battery source on this side. So what this would be useful for is if you were trying to put your tab or tag on a diet, figure out on an electrical diet to get the power consumption way down, figure out what different systems are using. You could use one of these to separate your systems and figure that out. So that would be a handy way to figure out what different systems are using for power. So we'll put that one aside there. And I'm going to talk a little bit about Powerpole connectors. These are connectors that are used in a number of different hobby applications, remote control cars and ham radio and some other things. And it's a really tough little connector that has a good snap fit to it. Now you're probably familiar with all the regular auto connectors that we've seen before. So these type crimp connectors are very commonly used on our tabs and on other trailers and in our cars application. And the problem with these is when you crimp these on, they tend to vibrate loose over time. And when you're dealing with a high vibration environment, that's a very common situation, and a tab is high vibration. So this type of crimping is not always the best. Now I'll show you a couple of the crimp tools that are used with this. This is the inexpensive crimp tool that many people have, and so it's going to do the couple of different color-coded connectors here to crimp them down, and it has a wire strip and all. This is absolutely worthless, and I can tell you if you are using one of these, you are asking for trouble because it does not do a good job of crimping a very wide surface area. It's only about an 1/8 inch thick, so it's putting a very small crimp on the wire and on the connector, and so it's a good chance that your connector is going to vibrate loose over time. Then you're going to have problems. So I would say if you've got one of these, you can keep this for emergency, but I would not use it as a way of life. I would go to something like a ratcheting connector crimper like this, where it has a ratchet mechanism in it that multiplies the torque of your hand, and it really does a good job, and it crimps across a wide area. Those jaws crimp down over about a 3/8 of an inch area, so it really crimps them on there. Now I'm not a big fan of those connectors that I showed you, so all of these common connectors like this, I'm basically getting rid of those. And anything that is an interior wiring situation where I don't have weather involved, I've gone to power poles. So the power pole connectors have a very positive joining to them, and they snap together, and then you'll notice there's two small holes here. There is a lock that you can get to lock those together to further ensure that they don't come apart. And the crimps on these are done with a tri-clamp tool. There may be other tools available, but I'm using a tri-clamp, and this baby is one mean set of jaws. When you crimp this on, this is never coming loose. I used to solder a lot of my connections, but after I started using this tri-crimp, there is no advantage to soldering them because it is extremely powerful crimp job that it does on your power pole connectors. So you don't have to worry about anything coming apart. And so you can do crimping if you want, or soldering if you want to, but it really is unnecessary. So all you do is crimp these little guys onto the end of the wire, and then it snaps inside of these connectors. The connectors come in a variety of colors. I have ones that are already bonded together, red and black for positive and negative. And once that snaps up in there, you're good to go. And if you need to get it out to change something or cut something or that, it's a real simple to pry with a screwdriver and it pops right out. So those are a pretty good way to go. So I would suggest that you look into that as a possibility for your tab, your tag, or your tada. If you're doing wiring, that you think you may have to eventually take things apart and put them back together again in the future, whether it's a pump or something to do with your with any of your electrical stuff, then I would, on the 12-volt side, this is definitely the way to go. Now on 110, this is not suitable. So on the 12-volt side and interior application, these are a great way to go. So this is Richard, and happy tabbing to you.